Bianca Marzouk is a somatic love and sexuality coach. Bianca is a certified sex, love, and relationships VITA coach, somatic therapist, and Jade Egg teacher who helps people around the world to ignite their divine sexuality, cultivate their unique powers, and express their authentic selves. Growing up in India, Bianca was drawn to the tantric tradition from early childhood and was fortunate to be raised in a community that held love and sexuality as sacred. At the age of 25, while studying law in Germany, she experienced a spiritual awakening that caused her to dive into the world of natural healing and sacred sexuality. She abandoned her plans of becoming a lawyer in order to follow her heart's true calling, bringing people back into their bodies and supporting them to live in alignment with their sexual energy. After certifying as a Pantarei somatic therapist in 2015, she then completed an intensive 600 plus hour training at the Tantric Institute of Integrated Sexuality and certified as an integrated sex, love, and relationship coach, tantric sex coach, and Jade Egg coach. Bianca holds a safe, sacred, and fiercely compassionate space for clients, assisting their ecstatic awakening process and personal transformation. She has worked with men, women, and couples around the world to help them expand their consciousness and create a life that is in alignment with their deepest truth. Bianca offers in person and online sessions as well as workshops. She currently lives in Costa Rica's abundant jungle with her two boys. Hello, everybody. We are kicking off an amazing episode today with Bianca Marzouk, who is a somatic love and sexuality coach. Hi, Bianca. Happy to have you on.
Hey, Anca, love. Thank you so much for having me.
I love how you always call me love. That's so beautiful. It just impregnates everything with love.
That's what I feel about you here, my Anca, love.
Yeah. Good. So just as a background story, me and Bianca, we follow the same VITA coaching certification, and we just returned, both of us, from an amazing magical retreat in Sweden with other magical beings who are apart from the same certification.
So much juiciness.
Yes, yes, and we're gonna get into that story. But first of all, Bianca, I would love to know and for you to share with everybody your background story.
Beautiful. So yeah, I've been doing this work since 2018. And I personally got into this work on my own healing journey because I was very much struggling with my sexuality. I was having a lot of issues to achieve orgasm, to connect deeply. I was very scared of intimacy. And let me just turn on the AC here for a second. And went on a journey of healing my trauma. And on this journey, back in that time, I was studying law because I really wanted to help humanity ever since I was a really little girl. And I decided at some point in my journey, I decided that I want to study law because that would be the most effective way to help humans. And so I was studying law. I hated every moment of it. I was studying not only law, but German law, which is a very intense combination. And really pushed myself through these studies because I felt like this is what I had to do. And then along the journey, at some point, I was already a mother of two children. I discovered somatic therapy, and I was receiving these sessions, and all of a sudden I was able to connect to the emotions in my body. I was able to feel the energy that was flowing through my body, and it felt incredibly empowering. I felt like I was tapped into life force from one second to the next through just this person helping me to feel my body and to feel the anger that I was suppressing ever since I was a little girl. And that journey then led me to discover Layla and to discover her program. And as you know, it's an incredibly deep experience. It was absolutely life transforming for me. And and then decided to stop studying law and never looked back. I was already very far in my studies, and everybody was like, how on earth can you do this? But it just felt in my heart like it's the right thing to leave it behind and to keep looking forward and to build the life that I want to build. And I feel that I'm now helping people in a much more potent way, which is the ironic thing about the whole story, that I'm helping so many humans and they are spreading the love, and it's just so incredibly fulfilling. So yeah, that's a little bit of my background story.
Yeah, that's so powerful and exactly so courageous, right? I think that a lot of people who have been through academia, there is a moment probably for everybody where we are like, this doesn't really feel right, but most people
Mhm.
do it and just get the diploma and that's it. And I really honor and celebrate the
Mhm.
deep awareness that you have about the fact that this was actually a course correction for you to help people through your deepest gifts and your deepest talents. Just as an
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
when
It's
I
a good word.
sorry.
Course correction is a very good word.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
interesting because I think that in the moment where things are happening, we don't really realize, right? Like we can't really put into words what is happening. But
Mhm.
for you to have really felt, I think your story resonates with so many people and with so many women, right? Like even what you mentioned about difficulty in orgasming and connecting deeply, like sinking into intimacy. This, I think, it's a story that many women share. And then it's so beautiful to see that you were so brave in listening to that nudge that was
Ah,
pulling you
thank.
on the course.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that humans in general have a lot of issues to connect intimately, because we're never really taught how to do it, right? Like, and we grow up with not the best examples. But I think that especially growing up in a female body, there's this deep unsafety that we feel. And I think that that is something that can be quite tough to work through, right? That feeling that in this world I'm working through this body that it is constantly wanted by the opposite sex, and also they could kill me with their bare hands in any moment, right? It's something that we really feel in our bodies, and I feel that doing this somatic work really helps to release that fear, and especially the practice of resourcing safety, which I use in almost every single session, every single workshop. Like, it's just, it's the most important precursor to anything that you want to do, because you first and foremost need to feel safe in your body. So, I think that was probably the deepest journey for me, is that embodiment of safety, which still, honestly, I get to work on again and again. It's being challenged here and there, and it comes up frequently.
Yeah. And thank you for normalizing that also. I think that I don't know if it's still a myth valid for many people. The fact that once you did the work, you should kind of be okay. And that's just not what human experience is. It's just layers and decorticating layers and deeper layers of safety. I like what you mentioned about how difficult it is for us to connect truly intimately. And yes, there are different reasons: trauma, being in a female body, the constant narrative of patriarchy, and so on. But I think there is also something. I don't know if it's deeper or if it's just at the basis of being human, which is that complete unknown. We did so many practices, right? Like eye gazing, when you look at somebody but you don't really see that person, and then if you stay there long enough, then layers start melting, and I felt it the first time. It was really uncomfortable, and like my heart was struggling. Like honestly, the information that was reaching into my brain was, you are gonna die now. Like you really have to get up and leave this practice. So it's so interesting. It was just eye gazing, right? Something that shouldn't be that triggering for my nervous system. But I experienced so much unsafety. So I really love what you mentioned about creating safety in your practices. So I would love for you to go a little bit deeper into maybe the window of tolerance and how you go around that, because I experienced that and I felt that in your practice. I truly felt in the Jade Egg practice, for example, that you facilitated during the retreat. And now that you are speaking to it, I'm like, yeah, it makes complete sense because that was kind of your intention.
I actually didn't learn about the window of tolerance. I think this is something that that was only taught in later programs. Can you explain what it is?
Yeah, so basically, each of us has a window of tolerance. And what you mentioned about safety is what we are using in our practices is that when you feel that you are a little bit out of what feels that your normal window of tolerance would be, then you need to find that space of resource within and to kind of fuel that safety so that you don't feel that you are overloaded and overwhelmed. It's just a way basically about speaking. It's just a concept um, to use so that people can understand that it's a beach of safety. It's not a point of safety or an experience of safety. And then,
Yes. So it really much speaks also to that balance between expansion and healing, like that we can expand into something, and then it's important to heal and soothe and connect to safety and love, and then we can expand a little bit further, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how I see it, and that's how I love to teach it. That there is, it's a dance. It's, you know, it's like it's a very delicate experience, and we need to always be very aware of how far can we go, and do I maybe have a pattern to push myself too far, or do I maybe have a pattern to be in the comfort zone, right? There's the extreme of people that just don't want to do any work, and even you said that sometimes you felt in eye gazing, or maybe the first time you felt that your ego is dying, or that you felt like you're dying, which basically is a part of you that is dying, right? And some people even can't sit down in meditation for 5 minutes, because in that moment that they do and they really tune in, there's so much that's coming up that it feels like they're dying, which a part of them actually essentially is. And so there's this extreme of like trying to always protect and stay in your comfort zone, and then there's also this other extreme of another ceremony, like another ayahuasca and another healing process and another book and another this, and it's like constantly trying to get to this point. And I think it's really important to find this balance, to see, okay, I'm going to gather my courage, and I'm going to take these steps, and then I'm going to soothe myself. And I'm, like having this little dance. And I feel that in my work, what is incredibly important for me is to, instead of pushing people into a place where I feel that they need to go, rather holding a very deep container, just holding that space, like feeling in my body, you can go with me as far as you want to go, and I'll be there with you. And then that's not even something that I have to communicate verbally, but it just happens. People are just able to open up to a very deep degree with me, because I really feel it in my body.
That's so beautiful. I recognize it in myself sometimes when I'm coaching, that I have an agenda of I'm gonna help you go to the deepest, darkest spaces because I can hold that. And I really need to become aware and to kind of release that as it is happening, because I also energetically I have that tendency of going to the deepest, darkest spaces of myself. And what I wanted to mention is that in your session, and maybe we can go a little bit into that, the Jade Egg, beautiful, magical Jade Egg group session that you facilitated. Again, it makes sense because that was what happened for me, right? So it's usually a sensual practice, a practice that comes with a lot of pleasure. And for me, at the end, it came with a lot of grief and like this huge release of crying out loud and like screaming. And I don't know if I was screaming, actually. I think that there was just like these waves of grief that were coming out. And of course, so many other practices, and it never happened. It never came out in that form. It usually comes like that in containers that are about grief, that are about sadness. So I'm wondering also how it is for you. Have you had a lot of these experiences with the Jade Egg practice?
That I felt grief in my body with Jade
Or
Egg.
clients maybe, or like some other experiences that were similar. Also speaking to what you mentioned, I think that sometimes people come to coaching with a different idea, and then they can start exploring aspects that are maybe less desirable.
Yeah, yeah. In the Jade Egg practice, in my experience, working on my own and with clients, what comes up a lot is rage. That, like, because we hold so much rage in our lower bellies, and through that we're activating it. And I love to work with rage because it's so powerful, right? There's so much energy behind it. Like when you start to open it up and you just feel it as the eros that it is, it can move mountains. It's so pleasurable. It's so beautiful. But sadness definitely is something that comes up a lot. And what I often hear clients say is that, how is it that I walked into your door or this is the first session that we're doing online, and I don't even know you yet, and 5 minutes in I'm already crying. Like, how does this happen? And I think that it's because there is that deep container that is available to them, and there is also I will express it directly sometimes, but I also, again, often just feel it in my body, that also in workshop situations, that all emotions are welcome.
Mm.
This is a space where everything that you feel is absolutely welcome. And I really feel it in my heart. I really feel like I want to, like, open up that space for it to be there. And then I feel that when that room is open, it's felt by everyone.
Mm.
And there's that in a workshop container, the same as in your workshop. There was so much emotions that came up, which is also something I would love to talk about because it was a very, very beautiful experience. But there was that feeling of whatever is coming up is welcome here, and we are healing everything that is in this room, and very likely very far beyond this room. We're healing all of it together.
Yeah, and thank you for mirroring that. As you named it, I kind of felt it in my body, and I thought about the amount of work that each woman who was present at the retreat has done prior to that. I think that's why we are so open, and we can really hold, again, like a very large array of emotions, because we've done it for ourselves. And I think that each person can hold the space to the level that they allowed to see that level for themselves, right? So as you said, also for me, rage, I'm so familiar with rage. Rage is so welcome. Disappointment, despair, like things that most people like, oh my God, no, please no, I'm like, well, bring it on, because I've been with that. I sat with it, and it didn't consume me, it didn't annihilate me. So it's always welcome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As I'm looking at you, and you're this light creature, and I'm thinking, when people first meet you, and I remember when I first met you, I was like, oh my God, she's such a beautiful, light, soft woman. And then I saw this powerful creature who's like calling in the witchiness, like holding this miraculous, like very solid space for people. And again, like what you said, it's just something that people feel into, right? It's not something that you do or consciously can logically work your way towards providing that space for people. It's just something that nervous system to nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's such a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah. I feel that in the last years, my focus really for my development with myself is just to be a full spectrum person, like to know all of it, because the same as there is light and darkness in the world, there's light and darkness within us. And the more that we are able to go within, the more that we become whole. And the darkness is not only evil, but also there's a lot of potential in the darkness. There's a lot of like greatness. There's a lot of shining. There's like our star quality. All of those things are also things that we suppress, right? It's not just the judgmental, shameful parts of us, but there is so much in the shadow that's actually golden, that's actually beautiful, that's actually things that we do want. So I think it's really going into those extremes, right? Because I always was that person that's very gentle and sweet and loving, and that was always who I was. And at some point I was like, wow, there's also this other like very intense part of me that's almost like the opposite of that. And then that works with every quality that we have the quality and we have the exact opposite of it as well. And the more that we can allow ourselves to go inward and again just feel it just as energy, just as the eros that it is, the more that we find wholeness within ourselves. So it's a really beautiful process.
Yeah, I love that. I so celebrate that we're having this conversation. I'm just thinking about the amount of people who are trying to fix themselves, and find all sorts of modality. And I think this is the first stage, and it's beautiful, right? Because people are like, sometimes you experience so much pain. You are in such a like you are operating at such a degree of suffering that you just want it done with, right? And you try all the modalities, and you go and you find people who are supporting you. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, I reached a point where I'm kind of okay. And I'm still like 100% process self-development junkie for the love of it, because I enjoy it. Like some people like playing tennis. I like going deep, crying, snotting on the floor, doing sex magic with other witches. It's just something that brings a lot of fulfillment to my life.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I feel that it's maybe not that the work is ever over, but because life keeps throwing you bigger balls. But I do feel that it becomes easier. It becomes easier to not avoid the pain. It becomes easier to connect to the anger. It becomes easier to meet the challenges, right? The more that we practice.
Yeah. So you mentioned certain modalities. I'm wondering, how else are you supporting people, like in a very tangible way, or why do usually clients come to work with you?
Yeah. So I actually just recently have been moving my focus a little bit. So far I've been working with people on their pleasure, their ability to feel pleasure, their ability to have orgasms, to connect intimately. I've been helping women, men, and couples, and have been learning so much over the course of the last 5 years. It's been really, really amazing. And in the last couple of months, there's been a calling in me to support people to, now that they've opened up that energy, now that they feel pleasure, now that they have been able to really expand their ability to hold energy in their bodies. I want to support them to manifest with this energy, right? So as we did a sex magic practice, I think it's one of the most powerful exercises we can do in this world. I want to help people to actually create the life that they want to create and use their sexuality as a tool to get there, their sexual power, and also deep subconscious work, because the more that I've worked with people, the more I felt that the subconscious process is the most powerful way for me to help people change, because it really gets to the root of the issues. And I find that process of going into the subconscious so amazing. It's like this journey that the person takes me on, and I'm like asking certain questions and like going and exploring all these different areas, and it's so powerful. And so what I've come to understand is that a lot of the manifestation work, like doing vision boards and having affirmations and things of such nature, can be very powerful, but for a lot of people it doesn't work, because they have parts within their subconscious that don't want the manifestation, right? That want to stay small, or that want to have things that are not fully in alignment with what that person truly wants. So bringing those parts online and helping to integrate them, creating that sense of wholeness that we talked about earlier, is something that has a very strong effect on the person's ability to create synchronicities, to manifest what it is that they want. And I don't know if you've experienced things like that in your coaching, but for example, the Gestalt therapy work that we do sometimes with, people communicating with their parents or with their inner child, what I've noticed is that I would do sessions like that with people, and then all of a sudden, their father, who hasn't talked to them for years, all of a sudden calls them, and we did like a father integration process. Or their ex-partner that they like did a process of letting go, all of a sudden does something that they've wished for them to do for a long time. Or there's like these, all of a sudden things start to change in the outside world, even though the only thing that we do is we go inward and we start to change things on the inside. So this is something that I've recently put together in a container where we go through certain steps and then help the person to manifest what it is that they want to manifest. So that's where I'm at right now, and it's really, really exciting, and it's so beautiful to help people to manifest their dreams. Like, what more beautiful thing is there in the world than to help people to live their full potential, right?
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait for it to be online so that we can share it, so that everybody can benefit from this. Sexual energy is the creative energy, right? Like, it's extremely powerful. And as you were speaking about this, I was thinking something that is always on my mind, which is, it makes so much sense that so many religions, so many societies, so many traditions are making a great effort to suppress our eros, our erotic sexual energy, because it's extremely powerful. And in a world that benefits out of people staying small and being obedient and not really asking for too much, that's not really something that you want available with very little investment. And having people who are fulfilled through who they are, who feel great about themselves, about their bodies, who interact from like this beautiful openness, spaciousness place, instead of being like nitty gritty gossiping. It's so difficult for me now when I'm around, like, we experienced in Sweden a way of relating to women, and I think just in general to people, that when I came out, it's just I experienced it in a sort of traumatic way, because I have to kind of like readjust my nervous system to a different type of normality. Yeah, but well.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be very challenging at times.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it's a normal process, for what you are also mentioning, how as you do more of your inner work, then the world outside starts configuring itself as a projection of the inner world, right? So again, I don't hold the utopia anymore that at one point things are gonna be exactly as I imagine them to be. So it's just life, like, yeah, great, here it is. We are gossiping about people again.
Yeah, I mean, there is our subconscious and then there's a collective that's unconscious, right? And so that's a whole nother ball game, and we can influence that, but there is strong repression in the world of our sexual energy, and I think that it's very true what you say, that it's no coincidence. Like, what an amazing plan to help to disconnect people from their bodies, make them believe that their sexuality is shameful, and through that take their most potent access not only to the divine, but also to the world at large, and to their ability to manifest, right? And then make them believe that you have the remedy for them. Like,
Yeah.
that's sadly it went, I believe.
Mhm. But then embodiment work, like the kind of work that you are doing, is so helpful, right? Because little by little, as the body, for me, the body is the way. And it's interesting because it works on sexuality, but through the body, right? It's like putting down the body that is unholy and rotting and whatever, right? Exactly taking the tool that is the one that we use to, yeah, towards enlightenment or fulfillment or just living, yeah, an expanded kind of life.
Yeah, the most powerful tool.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, what is your biggest life dream at this moment, and how does it relate to the work that you are carrying out in the world?
Ooh, my biggest life dream. So, right now I'm living in Costa Rica, and I have a very beautiful life here. I live in the jungle, and it's very wild, and so I live so in tune with nature here. And I feel like you've been here. I feel like Mother Nature is very loud here. She expresses through all the different elements in a very powerful way, and I very much enjoy it. And also, there's a deep longing within me to be back in Europe and to be back closer to my family, to have this like home that I know that I will live in for a very long time, where all my books are from all over the world. I have like different stashes all over the world with books, and I want to bring them all together into one place. And I have this dream of like building like a very strong foundation, and from there to travel the world and teach workshops and um, I have a very powerful offering with a dear friend of mine that is for men, that is an in-person offering that we've been creating in LA and that we're going to take to like the whole world, um, and yeah, start to branch out into the world, but to have this foundation to feel like, and this is what I want to create in my business as well, this like strong, powerful foundation, and from there to spread out into the world. And the projects that I'm working on right now is to take the work that I've been doing one-on-one, the manifestation work, into more of a group container. And it's what I'm working on at this moment. And I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book for women about sex magic, and I'm writing a book for men about how to reach a higher state of consciousness through having a healthy self-pleasure practice. So both of the books are about self-pleasure, but with a little bit different orientation. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
That's amazing. I can't wait to read these books. I'm like, yay! Yeah. I love the way that you expressed it, and it's so interesting because I feel that this is also a calling for me, and I feel that many other women are just called somehow to their roots and
Mm.
create like a physical space and laying roots, and then from there expanding and co-creating these offers and traveling the world. And I love what you mentioned about the books, because I think that, and like for me at least, I come from a transition society, and my idea is like, I want to have a property, like I want to have something under my name that would make me feel successful and so on. But for you, it's like, I want to have all my books for them to be together forever in the same space.
I mean, I've been carrying huge books around me for years, different countries, and it's just been, yeah, I always have overweight because of my books. So I'm like, I need to solve this problem. I need to have like one beautiful, huge bookshelf.
Yeah, I love that. What motivates you to do this kind of work?
Mm. I think what I've realized at some point over the past years is that one of my biggest missions in this life is to be to support Kundalini energy, to be here to, first of all, witness it in nature and in humans, and to just appreciate the beauty of it. but also to help people to get in touch with it. Because what often happens is I feel that people come into my session and they kind of have like their energies kind of closed down, which is something that we naturally do when we protect ourselves, when we have certain fears of that energy. We've learned, right, that it's not safe to embody that energy, right? We'll be raped, we'll not be loved, we'll go crazy. Like there's all these beliefs that we have around it, that if we get in touch with that energy, this and this and this is going to happen. And so we kind of turn that energy down. And what I love to see in the sessions is people like slowly like opening up, and then at the end of the session they're this like radiant being, and I just love to witness it so much. Or I love to witness it between couples as well, when there's this like deep love between them. And you know, you take them through like fears, loves, and desires, or you know, eye gazing, or do something beautiful with them like that, and then by the end of the session there's just this like zing kind of electricity between them. And I feel that this life force is really why I'm here, right? Like when I see it, I'm like, I feel so fulfilled on the deepest level. And I think that supporting people to see that that they can open their hearts to it, that they can love their sexuality, that they can love their emotions, that they can love everything that they're experiencing through that energy is the key for me to get there. And as soon as that happens and I see that life force flowing through them, I just feel like I'm doing what I'm meant to do in this planet. Like, yeah, this is I'm fulfilling my purpose.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Um, and I'm so grateful, to experience this, that you feel that you are living your purpose through the work that you are doing. Because I think a lot of people are struggling to find that depth within them where they are serving and showing up in the world through their greatest gifts and talents. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a beautiful thing to support, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm so grateful for that moment when you're like, law, law, law. No, I'm just gonna go in this direction.
Oh my God, me too.
So I imagine that you had a lot of mentors and teachers. Who do you find inspiring at this moment in your life, and why are they an inspiration for you?
Hmm. At this moment, who I find incredibly inspiring is Carolyn Elliott. She actually just changed her name, I believe, to Carolyn Lovewell. She wrote the book Existential Kink, and it's a book about the subconscious. And she has the most eloquent way of expressing her thoughts around the subconscious and how it operates. And basically, her idea is that the same as we have kinks in our sexuality, we have kinks in our life. So um, maybe you like to be tied up and held back in your sexuality, but maybe you also like that in your life. And maybe that's why you're creating situations in your life where you feel stuck. You're creating situations in your life where you feel not powerful. And her process really is going inward and connecting to those kinky parts of you that want to suffer, that want to be held back, that want to have all those things that you really, from your center, from the truth of who you are, don't want, obviously, right? But there are parts of you that do want it. And to embrace them is such a powerful process. So I feel that her work is incredibly, incredibly beautiful, because it just has helped me so much to create integration in my life, and it has been such a powerful tool with my clients. So yeah, she's definitely one person. And then there is I forgot his name, Gay Hendricks. I just started reading the second book. The first book has changed my life so much. It's also something that I've incorporated in the sex magic practice, which is the upper limit idea. That we have incorporated all these upper limits around, our ability to manifest abundance and love and joy in our lives. And once we reach that upper limit, that we believe this is the maximum of this or that I can experience, we start to manifest things in our lives that will keep us down, like, or we start to worry about things or judge people, or we even manifest accidents or sickness or things of that nature because we are trying to stay inside our limits. And realizing that has helped me to break through a lot of limits. And it's something that helps my clients a lot as well to understand, oh, right now I'm like going down this like rabbit hole about something that actually really doesn't matter, just because I don't want to feel more joy than I've ever felt in my life. And here's an opportunity to do that. So yeah, those are two people that are strongly influencing me right now.
Yeah, I love that. As you were mentioning existential king, I was thinking about experiencing one session that Leila did with a peer in my cohort, and it was so beautiful because she was like taking this peer into her turn on around not having what she desired, right? So like we experienced actually an arousal of the energetical, mental, psychological, maybe even body physiological level by not having what we desire, or by not having what we desire and then going into processes around that, right? And I became also conscious about something that I am doing where I am pushing myself to the limit, because one of the things that runs me is I always find the way. Okay. So because I always find the way, I take myself to the moment where I can barely breathe and almost suffocate, but I always find a way. No, so it's like constantly validating this belief that is, it can be very empowering and very helpful and very useful in certain aspects, but I also use it to kind of like push to the limit where I don't have any tangible income or something of the sorts, and then well, something magical happens where I create something out of nothing.
And then it is confirmed.
Yes, and it gets like, it's like I remember that I heard this quote about addiction from Peter Crone, and I will probably not rephrase it. I will loosely rephrase it, which was, addiction works because it almost hits the point of addiction, right? But you never get enough of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same with this validation. It never is like, it never fully like in a satisfactory way helps me. It just like always confirms, always confirms, always confirms, and then yes, the neural paths are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And this is one of mine. I'm sure that everybody has. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that quote of Peter Crone also really stuck to me. Did you see his the podcast with Aubrey Marcus?
I think it was on that podcast, because I think that that's how I got to him. But it was years back. I think maybe more than 1 year or something. I don't know if he had any recent podcasts with Aubrey.
Yeah, there was another podcast interview with him, and it was very powerful because they were Aubrey Marcus's wife was going on a process around her appearance and how much we as women are constantly conditioned to be so focused on our appearance and how much stress it actually creates in our bodies. The book that Emily Nagoski wrote about it, Burnout, also talks about it a lot. That it's something that is culturally and socially, we're just like forced into this constant stress. And so he does such an amazing job of unraveling that whole, I mean, it was an amazing podcast episode. Highly recommended.
Yeah, I remember, because it was exactly about that. I remember this specific phase of the podcast where she was talking about how she invests maybe like 5 hours or something, like a humongous number of hours into her appearance. And yes, I think that this is the story for so many women, and I can feel the freedom of most of the time giving into that, but then having moments where I'm like, you know what, it is what it is. I'm just gonna show up as this person.
Yes, and also really like always like I love to see the counter piece. Like, okay, there's this part of me that really wants to be beautiful, and she is accepted, and she's a part of the whole, and we love her. And there's this other part of me that wants to be ugly too. And what about her? How can I express her? How can I go into ugliness? Like, how can I like more make peace with that? In the past, I used to um for a moment I used to work as a model, and there was something that I learned, which is that a lot of the times I would hold myself back out of fear to be ugly, right? Like, because there's so much light on you, and like the pictures are like, there forever. And if you like, you want to look pretty on those pictures. So what I would do sometimes before we would start shooting, when we're still testing the light, I would make the most ugly faces, and through that really come to peace with the parts of me that are ugly, right? And through that I would afterwards during the photo shoot be so relaxed and so open, because I already expressed that part. I don't need to suppress it anymore, right? So it's um I love to work with the polarities within myself. I think it's a really powerful practice.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting because when you name the concept ugly, for me it's like, no, there is no ugly, there is nobody ugly, right? It's just being undesirable or not being at the standards. Because it's very interesting, because I think that there is resistance towards the term, but I think that deep in my heart I truly believe that there is no like ugliness in the way that it is portrayed, like negatively connotated. There is ugliness, just like there is beauty, just like there is anger, just like there is I don't know, deprivation, all sorts of different concepts, right? But I think that where I have a lot of resistance is being perceived as unattractive or not desirable. And this is kind of the dichotomy, right? Like pretty and unwanted, undesirable, unattractive. And it's beautiful to do what you invited, right? To just play with that concept and to purposefully unlock the least desirable, least attractive aspects of who you are. Because this is physical, but so many of us hold back in so many aspects just because we framed already for ourselves that certain aspects of who we are undesirable, unattractive, unworthy of being seen. And funnily,
Yes.
for me, those are the aspects that bring me closest to people, that allow me to like sink into the deepest form of intimacy, and what I find makes people truly special and unique.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that once we are able to incorporate these two polarities, we start to radiate a beauty that is beyond beautiful or ugly.
Mm-hmm.
It, it's a beauty that doesn't have anything to do with either ends of those spectrum, right? It's like a beauty, like a bigger, greater beauty.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to finish by talking a little bit about Sweden. And I'm just curious what I imagine there are so many things that stood out and sank into your heart from that experience. But if you would like to share some of the things that were really important for you.
Yeah. I mean, what really stood out for me, and this is an energy that I was able to connect to very much this year, was that feeling that we are doing an incredibly important, very, very deep work when we have the courage to go inward and to work through these things and to connect to our bodies and to connect with our sexual energy. I feel that we are doing this work not only for ourselves, not only for each other, and not only for the world, but also for all the women that came before us and all the women that are going to come after us. Um, and something that came through me while I was teaching the sex magic workshop is that so many women have died for this. So many women are still dying in the world because they are repressed so heavily, and because they don't have the ability to connect to this energy. And there's so many very, very courageous women that risked their lives in order for us to have these teachings today. And I get goosebumps just thinking about it. And this is something that came through for me this year in Sweden a lot, is how we're the magnitude of the power of this work. And I mean, the circle that you led, I had no idea what would happen energetically when we unite our yoni powers in this way. I don't know if you want to explain the workshop that you taught, but there is just something that happens that, as you described also when you introduced the practice, has a complete life of its own. You have no idea where it's going to take you. And for me, it was, I healed a very, very deep trauma that I was still holding. And it was like, as I was in the circle, I felt that there was a lot of energy that was moving through me. And it was like the goddess was just speaking to me the entire time. And as I went in the middle of the circle, I had this like very, very deep tension in my pelvis from a sexual rape experience that I had when I was very little. And I had this very strong tension, and I was in the middle of this circle, and it was releasing to a degree that I've never experienced in my life. And my pelvis still is so soft and so there's a very deep, deep sense of release in my body. And as I was in the circle, I just heard this voice that said, "You are healed and he is forgiven." And it was such a strong moment. And I know that this was everything that I've done leading up until that point and all the work and all of it, but it was also our combined pussy power that was at play. And I know that I'm not the only one that experienced that in the center of that circle. So that really, really stood out for me, that practice. And I think that it's really a exercise that has the capacity to fundamentally change the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you so much. I just want to honor your openness and vulnerability in sharing this with me, with us, with the world. I like the fact that there is some sort of mysticism around this experience, because as I was telling you, I didn't get it from anywhere. I didn't read about this. And there is a part of me that's like, oh, you are so, like, this is such an ego thing to say. Because probably like it just downloaded through all my life experience and so on. But I literally feel, as you were speaking about this experience, I reconnected with that love presence that is there. And there are many layers, right? Like Emma's physical place, the portal, the women, the ancestors, everybody who was like holding that space. I really, really feel that there is something really deep and extremely wise moving through this whole experience. That's why I also call it an experience, because I feel that's not really something that I could go and facilitate just like anywhere, or I feel that it's something that kind of calls itself in a certain way. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I believe it's going to grow.
Yes,
it's going to find its way to make it in the world.
And you know what? I'm an only child, and I grew up with all this like, nobody should wear the clothes that I'm wearing, and I was always like really mega protective of like my grandmother was my grandmother and like all these things. And it's so interesting because with this experience, I just want women to use it. It's like I don't feel in any way that it's mine, or so yes, I do hope that there is like a, as people were asking me, so where did you read about this, or how did you get to this? And I was like, I don't know, like it just came to me. But I'm sure, I'm 100%, 99.9 times sure that there are other people who got a similar kind of call or like experience or so on. So maybe like, it's kind of moving through the world.
Yeah, because it's greater than you, it's bigger than you, and that's why also you're not attached to it and you don't want to own it.
Yeah. And also
Yeah.
I was riding back home on my bike for this interview, and I was thinking of where I was as a human being and where I am now. I was completely driven by how special I am and how I came here with a purpose and like this messianic complex, and like it's beautiful to see that, like I was an only child and people around me were telling me how special I am and the story of my birth and so on. Now it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just another human being who is
Mhm.
experience nurturing this huge organism that exists and nurtures back life into everybody. And I say it from such a confident and free and light space where I don't like, I'm not saying this and then I hope that people like, Anka, I heard you saying that, that's not true. You're really unique and special. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, thank you so much for being here today with us, Bianca. I know that you would like, if you have some more minutes, to share a central breathwork practice, like a short uh,
Mhm.
experience.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. So, what I invite you to do is to close your eyes. If you're driving a car or doing something dangerous, you can't do this practice. So, make sure that you're safe to relax. And whenever you are, closing your eyes and taking a deep breath all the way into your lower belly. And exhale through your mouth. Relax your jaw. And again, breathe in deeply all the way into your lower belly. And soften on the exhalation. Relaxing your jaw. And one more time, breathing in. And exhaling. Amazing. And what we're going to do now is we're going to, just for a moment, activate our senses in order to help us to drop into our bodies deeper. So, with your eyes closed, connecting to what it is that you're seeing. Maybe you're seeing shadows or light behind your eyes and your eyelids. So, noticing that for a moment. Maybe there's patterns. Really focusing on your sense of sight. And then activating your sense of hearing. So, hearing my voice, hearing whatever other sounds there are around you, and allowing those waves of vibration, of sound, to really penetrate every cell of your body. Noticing that they can bring you deeper into presence. And then activating your sense of touch, so feeling maybe some wind blowing through the hair on your arms, or whatever it is that you're sitting on, your clothes that you're wearing. Maybe you feel your hair on your body touching your shoulders. So really feeling your sense of touch. And then tuning into your sense of smell. So what is it that you're smelling around you? Maybe your body lotion, maybe a perfume, maybe something in your surrounding. So really taking in that smell. And then tuning into your sense of taste. So savoring whatever taste you have in your mouth right now. And then trying to bring as many of these senses together as you can. So hearing what you hear, seeing what you see, feeling what you feel, tasting what you taste and smelling what you smell. And allowing that to fully help you to drop into this moment, into your body, and to activate your sensual nature. And hopefully, you can keep this sensuality for the rest of your day and bring that sensual flavor into whatever it is that you're doing. And maybe you're going to go to the supermarket and smell every fruit or touch yourself gently today in whatever way that you can incorporate more sensuality.
Thank you. Thank you for the beautiful practice and for the invitation to sense in July.
Thank you for having me, love. Thank you for holding this beautiful space to go deep and to share. It's really lovely experience.
Thank you. So I'm wondering, where can we find you online? How can people connect with you?
Yes. Okay. So currently through my website, biancamarzouk.com. My Facebook has just been shut down, so I'm working on that. I've been talking about sacred sexuality too much, but I'm going to find a way out of that. So for now, it's my website and Instagram. So on Instagram, I'm bianca.marzouk, and my website is, as I said, biancamarzouk.com.
Yeah, those links are going to be in the description of the podcast. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Bianca.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure to connect with Bianca, who is known in Santa Teresa as the sex lady. I was thinking about how, like, wise women, like medicine women, would have their name, and people in that village, that community, would know. You are the sex lady.
We're owning it.
Have a lovely time, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. See you next week with a new episode.
The best way to support the Healer Hub podcast is to review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and share it with your people. Thank you so much. Deeply grateful for your support.